Deep down in the southern hemisphere of southern Africa, there's a tribe called the Bayei people. In the following documentary, we look at the untold stories of the Bayei people, their origins, their first interactions with other tribes, the slavery that took place, what action was taken by the government, and the relationship of Bayei and Botswana currently. In search of the history of the Bayei people, our journey takes us to Gumare village, a growing village found in the northern western part of Botswana. If one is not flying, a private car would take 12 hours and 4 minutes from the capital city of Botswana, Gaborone. Roughly the distance is 1,000 kilometers when using the A3 route. Gumare is found in Ngamiland West, which had a population of about 59,000 people in 2011. Among the tribes that are found here are the Baherero, the Bambukushu, Basubia, Bagereku, and Basara, and other Tswana-speaking tribes. According to oral tradition, the Bayei immigrated from the kingdom of the Lozi people in the 18th century and were led into Ngamiland by the skilled fisherman and hunter Hankunzi. When the Bayei met the Bakapwe people, Hankuzi married one of the women, possibly as a guarantee of peace. A number of immigration waves followed. The Bayei learned many of the Bakapwe's survival skills, including new fishing techniques, while the Bayei were credited for coming up with the specialty of making the canoe, normally called the mokoro by the natives. The Bayei had a maternal succession. The inheritor of a kingdom is the son of a sister to the king. The Bayei believed in a creator god who lived among humans. One day the god became angry with the humans for their wickedness and went to heaven. He does not interfere much with the world except for throwing down the occasional thunderbolt. The Bayei also had connections to the Lozi in the north and traded tobacco from iron with them. Iron was important in the Bayei economy for producing spearheads and tools to kill wild animals. In the early 19th century, the Botswana tribe known as Batawana arrived in the Ngamiland. After their arrival, many of the Bayei became serfs of the Batawana. According to Okavango Kopano Mokoro community tribe, this servitude was voluntary in many cases as it offered protection to attach oneself to a powerful household. There, a village junior chief of one of the biggest wards in Gumare had this to say.
Lerina di khoshi kholo bo matsharathara bo sankuze di khoshi kholo tsa Bayei le matsharathara sankuze le khungwe
used to have paramount chief, the likes of Matsaratsa, Sankuze, Tungu. Their generations are even there, the likes of Uzu. When the Batawana came from the central, that's when we lost our chieftainship.
Abena bone di khoshikgolo tsa rona ba ne ba tshwanetse go ba hiketsa ba ine ba sa bala Batawana ha ba tswa kwa ke batho ba ne ba le mo ntwe ba ntse ba taba ba ka
they managed to do so because they manipulated the Bayei who were by that time did not know how to read or write, let alone have fought before.
Bayei ne ba sa itse sepe ka hore gona le motho o ka twi kana le dikgoši tsa bone ne ba sa ba šupetse gore ke dikgošikgolo ba ka ba gatelela nya.
When they took over, they made sure the Bayei worshipped. Originally as Bayei, we were used to staying with our chiefs just like any other family. We did not take them as gods. The Batawana wanted us to bow to them, to respect them.
Ba dira Bayei gore ba tshwane le ntša kana ntša ga e bona mongane ta e kgomile bona e wela go gatsetse mona e boko e bilikama e tamogata jaanong ba dira gore le rona Bayei jaanong re fetoge re ba idele megatala ya ka ntša jang.
When asked about why a lot of Bayei do not know how to speak their own language, the village elder had this to say.
Batsadi ba rona ba re ba tshwarwa ba thathelwa mo dikgolegelong ba thathelelwa gore ke ha ba re ba batla go ruta bana Seyei.
Our parents got arrested for teaching their children the Yei language. We then asked never speak our own language. They wanted us to speak there. The reason I cannot speak Yei right now is that my parents were arrested for teaching us. My grandfather Uzu was arrested as well. Salipito too got arrested just to stop him from teaching us his nephew's Yei. Petros Sedisa was a victim too. Rangusa at Spopa also got arrested. Even the British that colonized Botswana at that time supported the motion of Batawana, refusing us to speak our language.
Bana ba rona ra ba ruta dingwao tsa rona di a binwa go ga borone go state out ka stand house ba bitswa ba go bina ko me ba bua Seyei ba bina dipina tsa Seyei. Ke dumela re go bohelelong gongwe le jone bogoshiwa ba e bota boela mo tiriso ka ga ke motho a nna le morahi o kana morahi o kana bo tha kwa na le kgotsikolo wa bona ga ke dumele gore go kana jang.
Before we continue in seeking further knowledge about the Bayei people, let us visit some elders in Gumare as they talk about the different foods they enjoyed feasting on. There are many ways of cooking a fish. It can be cooked with tea or by just using water. While the white men debones the fish before they cook it, we cook the fish first and remove the bones later. Then we pound it till tender. It is a very delicious meal. Women would go and collect water lily flowers. The inside parts of it will then be cooked. People did not get sick easily because this kind of meal were highly nutritious. During the rainy season, there were a lot of wild fruit to be eaten as well. These wild fruits could be dried and be kept for future consumption. Elder Bikuto also talked about the Yei dishes. Back then, we used to eat a lot of food coming from the desert. Water lily tubes, nguma, fish, papyrus root, and ate makungara as well. These are the foods that my parents brought me up with. I would eat soga, soft porridge. We used to eat corn.
one mili o bilwa ondali mabele a bilwa mayere kana ko yone
Back then, there were no wildlife
no
law,
sena di khanedi tsa diphologolo nama ene ki jaka
so I ate
ne nama ya
feed
phologolo
with hunted meat.
o tswa go jiwa dinthwa di teara di na mo
We also ate
dikukubele
They usually stay in anthills.
di latela lesedi la molelo ke dijo tsene di nkota tse di nkutileng.
In pursuit of another source of information, our search for answers led us to an association which is a non-governmental organization with objectives of maintaining and developing the Yei town. But before we go there, let us visit a village which is 30 kilometers away from Guma, Eta 7V, a village well renowned for its people who are full of artistry excellence, mostly made of Bokushu tribe. There, we met one of the founding members of the Kamanakau Association, Miss Lydia Salshando, who opened up and said,
Bayei haruga mo bagolong le mo ditso tse di kwadilweng ke baitsana jaaka bo Professor Tlong le bo Andrew Murray le bo Anderson ba re Bayei ba tswa ko Central Africa.
According to oral history from our elders and from scholars such as Professor Klo, Andrew Murray, and Anderson, they say the Yei tribe originated from Central Africa. They came down south till they came to stay at Caprivi Strip in Namibia, at a place called Sangwadi. When they got to the delta, they started carving wooden canoes which they used to explore the delta and ended up in Chobe Kasane. They found the Basawa living in the delta, the Bakadikwe and the Bakakwe, and they stayed together peacefully teaching the Basawa how to use the canoes, iron smelting, and crop production since the Basawa did not many years. Currently, the Yei tell their offspring that they originated from Botswana, while the Yei in Botswana say the opposite. This is so because the back and forth movement that happened between these two regions. Andrew Murray says the Yei tribe came to the Delta in 1000 AD. While according to Professor Klo, the last wave of the Yei people came to the Delta in 1750. By then, the British had already colonized the Ngami land region as part of the Botswana Protectorate, so they stopped these free back and forth movements. The Bayei then settled around the Okavango Delta all the way to the Panhandle. Others followed the Buteti River. Those who remained behind at Kasane now have been assimilated by the Subia tribe, but their names, most of them, still remain Yei, hence why one will hear Yei names around the Chobe region. At present, the stronghold of the Yei people is in Guma, which has about 75% of the people being of Yei origin. The Herere and the Bukushu are also found in this place. Maun is also a Yei town. 70% of the Maun people are Yei, even though they do not speak the Yei language. Even villages like Komana and Sanku are originally Yei villages. Now, because of the cosmopolitan of Maroon, other tribes came and settled. Up and above, the Yei people constitutes the highest number of people in the aforementioned places. According to Professor Go, the Batawana came to Ngami in 1800, over 50 years after the last wave of the Yei people. Originally, the Batawana are from the Bangwatu tribe. History dictates that Tawana was the elder brother to Khama. It is said that they had a dispute that led to Tawana seeking new territories. According to Remanja, a group of men followed Tawana when he left his tribe. When Tawana ended up at the lake Ngami, it is said that he was still a young man. The Yei who fished around the lake took him in. Tawana had a necklace around his neck which had a crocodile tooth, which was a status of showing that he was a king from his tribe. But the Yei that lived with him did not know the significance of the tooth until the people that came looking for Tawana explained to them. Since the Yei people were humble, they took the Batawana in, gave them cattle. Then after some years of staying with the Yei, the Batawana learned that the Yei had their own king, even though they did not stay in the same location as their ruler. The Batawana then proposed to the Yei that they lived with the idea of allowing Tawana to be their king. Their reason being that they are used to having one king rule over a collective. The Yei king was called Hankuze. They came as 3 brothers. The other 2 were called Kunku and Matsaratara. Matsaratara went to Buteti, while Kunku was at the Tsao Nukaneng region. Other Bayei agreed while others did not agree to this idea. Upon this realization, the other group refused their proposal. Hankuze was then taken and killed by the Batawana group. Up until now, no one knows where Hankuze was buried. This was done so that the Yei remained without a king and the other group had no reason to refuse to be ruled by Tawana. The Batawana then introduced the Khamelo system. That is how slavery started.
The Khamelo system involved the Yei tribe's cattle being taken by the Batawana. The Yei would plow crops and forced to give part of their harvest to the Batawana as a requirement under this rule. Even in hunting, the Yei killed wild animals for the Batawana to go and eat. Since the Batawana came to Ngami as men only, they married some Yei women and the Khalakadi women. They looked down upon other tribes.
In 1936, when the census took place, the Batawana asked the Yei people to say that they are of Tawana origin, and that is when some of the Bayei started to be conscious and to revolt against this dominance or rule. Now, in 1948, the slavery was stopped, and even the Bayei went to courts to demand the right to have their own king. Khosi Pulani, who just recently passed away in 2004, was the one ruling over the matter, and her final rule was that the Bayei can only have headmen but not a paramount chief. So the Bayei went on their own and decided to select their own paramount chief regardless of the ruler. They identified Ngwe Baruti from the Hankuze genealogy to be their paramount chief. Ngwe was then taken to Sopopa and was made headman of records. This then left the Bayei without a paramount chief. The Batawana then installed headmen in Maun, Tsao, Nukaneng, Gumare, Sepopa, and Seronga to represent their rule.
According to Mrs. Salshando, the Kamanakawa Association was formed in 1995. In 1999, the association challenged Botswana 3 laws, being the Bogosi Act, the Tribal Territories Act, and the Constitution Act. The Tribal Territories Act has Section 2, which states that there are only 8 tribes in Botswana who have land and representation at the House of Chiefs. The association won the case, but instead of the government amending the laws, government decided to take Section 2 from the Tribal Territories Act and put it into the Constitution Act, so that it became difficult to challenge. That is because the Constitution is regarded as a higher law than the Chieftainship Act. Ms. Aleshando went on to say, so when we challenged Section 77 of the Constitution, the judgment was that we cannot challenge the Constitution because you can't say one section of the Constitution is contrary to another. That on its own, it will mean that Botswana has a constitutional crisis, thus nullifying the country according to the law. Once you nullify the constitution, that means there is no country called Botswana, because for a country to be called a country, it is because of the constitution. Mesa Lushando went on to say that, I quote, "You can't have your language taught in school because your tribe is not recognized. We can only be recognized if we accept that we are Batawana. For an example, a Mirwa or a Kalanga who lives in the central region is not recognized as a Mirwa or a Kalanga by the constitution. They are recognized as Bangwatu, so they cannot teach their children in their native languages."
Children in Botswana, they go to school ba ho ithuta ka temi e seng ya bone, ka ngwao e seng ya bone, because if you are not recognized, then your culture is not recognized in the school system. Your history is not part of the history. Your children will not know about their history. But the key thing, you are not given the right to for self-determination as a tribe. You can't say rebata bana ba rona ba rutwa history ya rona, rebata bana ba rona ba rutwa ngwao ya rona, rebata ho boloka this ngwao, and therefore it has to be passed on to our children through the education system. Whenever an education system collapses, it's not a short-term thing. It takes years for a system to collapse. So this thing is a long-term thing, and we knew it will crumble. We produce people who can't even write, because the ability to write, you need to write about something that is familiar, and the concepts that are familiar. Then you get to, because the concept is only hardly familiar, all that you want to acquire, the writing system. But where you learn both the writing system and the concept, so se se bidiwa metsi iseng army ko lape a bidiwa army ko skolo hate ke metsi. So he's learning both the concept and the ability to write metsi. Then it's easier, because now the concept is already there. Now it's difficult. He has to learn both the concept and the writing system, and therefore he cannot develop a better system in another third language or fourth language. That's why we want to you be more the essays that thing, but because the background they didn't want to promote these local languages. But by ignore early primary school, early childhood education, as a way of ignoring the use of the local language. By 2 years old, abu asimbukushu, abu asiye, utoka na lisiye hore aitude. That's why they ignored the early childhood education for 50 years of independence. Babata Hoseiva tribal discrimination here, and non-recognition of these other tribes. So the cost of tribal discrimination is very, very grave. There is no creativity, because you are learning in a foreign language. There is no critical thinking. There is no early concept formation. That's why if I tell you something, you are going to tell the next person. You don't even say, "Ow, akibwa maruri." Samama yo hore ki amona ki muruti. Auka uja. There's no critical thinking. So you're just going to pass it on. Ebe honna because we don't question things. We don't interrogate information. And that's what results from education system is na early learning concept formation ECD. So the results are quite grave for our education system. So now we are trying to preserve Bayei language yaka o bona re kwadile dibuka. As Kamanakawa Association, we have a writing system. Our history is there, and we have our language written. Hoping for someday either this government will wake up to reality, or another government will come in and change things for the better.